Happy early New Year, Dog Nation. This is Jeff Sintel. We've got Before the Hedges live, the last one of 2020 coming down the tracks right now. Hope everybody's having themselves a good holiday season. You will notice the Christmas tree behind me over my shoulder here. I'd love to hear what you guys think in your household. I feel it is totally un-American for anybody to get their tree, to take that joker down before the new year. If you guys are better than that, if you guys are on point where you've already got all the ornaments back in the box and everything figured out on your end by then, well, then more power to you. But as for me and my home, we definitely don't think about taking that tree down until after the new year. I want to say thanks to everybody for joining us. Thanks to Facebook. Thanks to YouTube. Let's do something since this is the last show of our year. If you guys are joining us on YouTube right now, tell you what, here's what. If you haven't subscribed to the Dog Nation YouTube channel, please do so right now. And if you're feeling kind of sporty about it, maybe you send me an email, maybe you send me a DM, maybe you put in a picture on the feed if you can do so. Maybe you say subscribed, whatever. Maybe we'll find something for somebody on the feed from the Dog Nation prize vault for 2021. Just think to subscribe. Also, if you're on Facebook, if you guys could give us a like, maybe share it across your favorite social page or group page, that would be ideal. Would be ideal. Sometimes, guys, it's funny. I'm doing this show live, and I got it on my MacBook right here, and I got people popping in with some funny messages from long-winded conversations, whether it's player evaluation, whether it's players telling me something that's about to happen. Sometimes it makes me laugh. I'm only human. It's like if you were doing a live television show and you were Jimmy Fallon, and the teleprompter just started giving you mysterious and funny stuff that you weren't expecting. That's sort of what it's like. Anyway. Man, that was funny. Anyway, back on point here. Give me a like, give me a share on Facebook, give me a subscribe. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me whether you got your tree up. I think I want to start with that headline, because I know, people in the headline business are like, Jeff, you got to give something that just grabs them and just sucks them in and makes them really want to come in with a lot of good energy. So that's what I thought of, because right now I wanted to be honest about a couple of things. I wanted to be real about a couple of things, and I wanted to give you guys some hope about a couple of things. The first thing I'd like to share, and this was news that, kind of happened maybe about 24 hours ago. And that was the news about Brock Vandagriff. Vandagriff had a significant knee injury, which is what I would call a significant knee injury, which is a PCL tear. And he suffered it way back in week 4 of his senior year. Now, depending on the grade tear of the knee, I've heard guys tell me over the last 2 or 3 months when I've kind of known about it, and I've asked him, how bad's a PCL? Like, what does it do? I've heard some guys tell me that they could barely run with the PCL tear, depending on what grade tear it was. And I've had other guys, maybe elite athletes that I've spoken to had always said that the PCL is not very vital in terms of your overall, effectiveness. You can, especially if you're a quarterback and not maybe a wide receiver or running back, you can kind of make things do. Because obviously, some people don't even have a PCL. If you've heard some of those stories about guys going to the NFL Combine and being graded, but for me, that was something. I was very cognizant with my reporting. Sometimes being right as a reporter doesn't just always mean accurate. For me, I've read some stories. I kind of read everything that everybody tries to write about a lot of these young men. And, some people would visit with Brock or visit with his family, and they'd report about a knee injury or he's suffering a knee injury. Well, he's been wearing the knee brace for quite some time, but and I'm sure obviously folks can pick up on that in the game. They can pick up on that pregame. They can pick up on that on game film, certainly. But, for me, I just, really didn't want to be the guy, even especially with confidence as you want to keep in this business. But I really didn't want to be a guy that kind of published a bullseye on his knee about how he was dealing with a significant knee injury, especially, and I can hear all these hardcore, journalists, freaking in their seats right now, but especially when he was still playing at a significantly high level. He wasn't out, and his team was in the midst of a state championship run. To me, there was no, hard news there, so to speak, rather than just a very impressive detail. And actually, I'm a big fan of a great story. I thought the great story would be him winning a state title with the PCL tear. Of course, the news of the day is it's a PCL tear. It will not require surgery. Let me just pump in a few quick, hard fastball heaters right here. The great news in our headline is Brock Vandagriff has a PCL tear. It will not require surgery. He will not miss a significant portion of spring practice or be limited. I'd been told that it might have been a 5-month injury before he could, be back after surgery, because surgery was expected in this case. And I think it's very good news that surgery is not going to happen. He had his knee looked at by the UGA team doctors basically right after the championship game on Monday night. And they determined that brace would be necessary, and they would want to strengthen the area around the knee, the quadricep, and that way the PCL would kind of heal up on his own, and he wouldn't be limited. I thought it was interesting. They did a knee test where they tested his right knee compared to his left knee, and one of the knees, his hurt knee, was still 75% as strong as the other knee. And if you look at Brock Vandagriff, and I'm going to write a lot of stuff about him over the next month, like I said, but if his hurt knee is only 75% as strong as the other knee, well, then that means his knee is probably like only as strong as about every other quarterback in college football right now, because the young man's very strong. He's very fast. He's explosive. Even he has a different gear in the open field, especially for a quarterback. And he can pick him up and put him down. And for that, that gear to be missing and him to still be at 75% as strong as he is, that was a pretty telling detail. So that means he will be a participant in spring practice. He probably won't be limited at all. And that's a good thing, because I think it will set up a great battle for the number 2 quarterback job between himself, Stetson Bennett, and Carson Beck in the spring. And if a surgery element was there for Brock Vandagriff, I don't know how he would have been able to compete on a level playing field, besides in the film room, with the mental reps, with Mr. Bennett and also Mr. Carson Beck, who I still think that young man has a very bright future at the University of Georgia. So that's the great news. Maybe some good news, and I'm going to ask for Michael to call up one of our slides today. We're going to go out of order. You're going to laugh at how we go out of order in a minute, but these are the typical slides you see every week on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. But I want to pull up the commitment board, because their signee board is what I probably should say here. And I should have thought to change the top of these graphics to 2021 signees, but these guys are all signees right now. And some good news is you will see that I think my count was either 10, 11 or 12 of those guys were already enrolled at the University of Georgia. They were doing some early bowl practicing. They had moved in to campus. I know Marius Mims had wanted to do that. David Daniel, Nyland Green, a lot of those guys had wanted to do that. So if you start scrolling through that list, you'll see a lot of names that are already fully joined the Georgia football program. The thing that you'll think about there is, let me go back to Brock for a second. So Brock's got an interesting story. Him and his father celebrated a state title. It was a lifelong dream and goal for both of them. And next week, they're going to go on a fishing trip. They're going to be in the Gulf. They're going to be in Florida, and they're going to be fishing. They got a guide. They're going to go out. It's a 4-day fishing trip with the family. And then I believe it's on January the 10th or January the 11th, depending on logistics there a little bit, is when he will move to Georgia and enroll at Georgia. I mean, we're only talking about a 15-minute commute. I really don't know. That young man could just bring a backpack and a pillow, and he'd be good, because anything he needs, he can have somebody bring it to him or whatever. But that's the story on Brock Vandagriff. The commitments there, I think Georgia still that are now signed. That still keeps Georgia at number 3 nationally. Of course, on January the 2nd, there'll be the announcements for Corey Foreman, and Elijah Judy. Those guys have maybe they did sign during the early period, but they've delayed their announcements until the All-American Bowl kind of presentation ceremony, which is set for January the 2nd. I think they're still going to have an hour-long special, or maybe hour and a half long special, with some commitment declarations on NBC on January the 2nd. So that'll be interesting to watch for all that. And that would kind of turn things to our to our 2021 top targets list. And folks, this will be the shortest top targets list in the history of Dog Nation Before the Hedges programming. Don't blink, you might miss it. But calling on the first name on that list, the only name on that list, you know who it is, Terrion Arnold. We actually wrote something recently about Terrion Arnold. He put into a nutshell what he kind of thinks about a lot of those guys, what he kind of thinks about all of his contenders. He has a Final Five. He's never visited Texas A&M. I think he maybe visited LSU once, Alabama, Florida, Georgia. The big thing he likes about Georgia is the relationship with Kirby Smart. That's going to be huge. He's a cornerback. I think he's one of the most talented, if not the most talented, defensive back, especially in terms of versatility to play all 5 spots in the secondary. That he's as talented as anybody Georgia has recruited in the Kirby Smart era. And he has been number 1 on the Dog Nation top targets list ever since Amarius Mims, committed to Georgia way back on October the 13th. That was his birthday, October 14th, I think. And then Terrion Arnold, who's been number 2, has been number 1 ever since, because he's just that skilled. I think he is that special of a player. And it'll be very interesting to see where he makes his mind up to go on February the 3rd. He told me he still plans to take all of his visits to all of those schools. He is enamored with the fact of playing for Alabama, as most would be. He likes how he can get the real from the players at Georgia. They keep it real with him. They tell him what it's exactly going to be like. Georgia sees him as a corner, but with the ability to move all over the field. I think a really interesting thing he had to say during our discussions, we've had a lot of them over the last couple months, is he looks at Florida. Like, his dream school is Florida State, guys. I want you guys to get this about Terrion Arnold. His dream school is Florida State, but he's got to make a business decision. He didn't want to be that kind of hometown hero that just stayed in Tallahassee and went to Florida State, especially because he doesn't see the pieces around him. He doesn't see the defensive linemen. He doesn't see the linebackers. He doesn't see the receivers that can challenge him every day in practice. Now, of course, at Georgia, he thinks Georgia's got the dudes and they've got players. He said it would be, and I quote, a movie. He said it would be a movie if he got to go against those Georgia DBs in practice every day. The competition factor there would be raised up and would be redlined every day. That's one of the things he really likes about Georgia. I thought it was interesting what he had to say about Florida. He thought Florida was the second best thing to Florida State, and that's why staying close to home, representing his home state, he thought that was the best thing that Florida had going for its program's chances, was that it was the kind of the next best thing or the second best thing compared to Florida State. And I don't know if I'm a Florida Gator on maybe between the swamp gas or between the swamp bubbles comparative program in a parallel universe. I don't know if that's a good thing to hear if I'm a Florida Gators fan about. That's the best thing he likes about Florida, and the biggest reason why he would choose Florida. That, my friends, is a quick little update, quick little hit there on Terrion Arnold. We'll have more stories to come about Terrion Arnold on dognation.com over the next 4 weeks for sure. But right about now is the time in our program where we take a moment, we take a knee, and we look up to that big jumbotron on every screen for a message from Brandon Adams and our fine friends at Kroger, our partners each and every week here on Before the Hedges.
We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but first, a quick word from Kroger. Kroger has made shopping for the groceries and household essential items that you need even easier by offering free pickup. Just shop online, choose a pickup time convenient for you, and Kroger will carefully pick out your order and bring it to your vehicle when you arrive. So the next time you're ready to shop at Kroger, take advantage of the free pickup. It's just another way that Kroger is fresh for everyone.
All right, guys, that's another way why Kroger is fresh for everyone. Here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm gonna flip over to YouTube again, guys. I wanted to tell you guys on YouTube, if you're following along, um, please take a minute to. Sorry about that. Take a way to you guys are watching Florida getting. I think they're getting ran right now by the Oklahoma Sooners. Again, guys, I wanted to tell you guys on YouTube. And that is me. 2 interceptions so far. Florida is not representing the SEC as well. Rhett Romack has a question, and how fast does he see how fast he can get on the field with the attrition we're going to have? Georgia's going to have in the secondary. I mean, obviously he does, but is that fact doing anything for us? I think Reddit's doing a lot for Georgia. He's always looked. We had a conversation, and one of the things in our recent story was that he kind of knew with Georgia, Dejon Nugget Warren was the plug and play guy that would hit the field first. He was going to enroll early. He was 21 years old. He's already played some junior college football against grown men. And that was the guy most likely to get the first quick, good, hard, long look at Georgia from Georgia, especially because he played so long, played so well there. But he played so well. His film was a very, very strong film, very good film. Nugget was able to do a lot of special things on film, but he thinks playing time is instant at Georgia now. He thinks playing time is wide open at Georgia, and the fact that Dejon Nugget Warren did not sign as a part of this Georgia class for a lot of reasons here, but the fact that Warren's not there kind of maybe parted the Red Sea even more, where he sees even a much stronger chance for him to play right away at Georgia. So, Rhett, I thank you for that question right there. Noah Sheldon taking advantage of our Florida picks right there. Yeah, that was a conference pick right there. You just kind of figured that well-coached Florida team would be able to come out swinging against those Sooners. Let me see. Going through some questions right now. Lots of interest there on the Florida Oklahoma game. Like a lot of guys. Brian Smith says Florida getting whipped early. Michael Porter has Trask pick 6. How many? G Bama Boy says he got home today around 6 p.m. and his tree was down. The Grinch lives with you. That's pretty funny. Excuse me. So funny thing, I want to make sure I follow along here. We've shown you the top target remaining in the 2021 class. We've shown you what the commitment board looks like. I think when you look right now, Georgia has 18 guys inside the SEC footprint. They have 10 guys outside of the SEC footprint. Excuse me, they have 10 guys in the state of Georgia, 10 guys outside the state of Georgia. They have 18 guys in the class outside the state of Georgia, 18 guys in the class inside the state of Georgia, and then inside the SEC footprint, excuse me. Got a lot of things going off in my ears right now. 18 players out of these 20 are they come inside the SEC footprint for recruiting. 2 guys are outside of that footprint. Jamon Dumas Johnson, who will not enroll early. Brock Bowers in California, who will enroll early. Very few non-early enrollees in this class. You've got Dylan Fairchild, West Forsyth. He wants to wrestle. Jamon Dumas Johnson in Maryland. He cannot enroll early in his high school curriculum in the athletic league he plays in the DC Beltway area. Kamari Lassiter out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Georgia native from the Savannah Pooler area. He will also not be able to enroll early as well. So there's a few guys in the class that won't be enrolling early, but it is a record number of mid-year enrollees, as we've reported on Dog Nation over the last month, going through the years. I think the number stands at like 16 or so, and that's the most Georgia has ever had enroll early. We had a graphic presented for each of you guys as well. Next week, we will have our initial 2022 top targets list. It's been very hard for me to sort out number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on that list. I almost brought it to you guys today, but I wanted to wait until the first actual day before the hedges of 2021 to show you the 2022 top targets list. You, of course, a little hint there. I've already given this out in the Dog Nation forum, forum.dognation.com. that Malachi Starks, the talented 2022 safety man who plays quarterback for Jefferson High's Dragons, he will be the number one name on the list, and he will stay there for quite some time, in my opinion. I just think he's that special of a high school football player, and also a type of guy that can really anchor down a program, not to mention a defense. I think that highly of that young man and what everything he's about and everything he stands for. Malachi Starks, of course, he does also carry a 5-star grade on the 24/7 Sports Composite. He has a final three or top three, which is Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia. I don't know how much stronger it can get than that with Malachi Starks, but a little bit of preview there on the 2022 top targets list, which we will show you guys for the first time next week. Now I'm going to get to some honesty, like I said in our headline, some great news, Brock Vandagriff's knee, some good, the amount of 2021 signees that have already enrolled at the University of Georgia or that will be there during the first week of January. Now here's some reality, some honesty. I think one of the things that sets up for the 2022 recruiting cycle, which will be so vital, is I think it will be vital for Georgia to reload its wide receiver position in terms of recruiting. Not trying to throw any shade any which way, but the receivers that Georgia signed this year were not as strong as the receiver class they signed in 2020, and were not as strong as the receiver class they signed in 2019. That's why Georgia's going to have to get some game breakers in the 2022 recruiting class at wide receiver. And one name that comes up a lot on our Dog Nation message boards and just general fans talking about recruiting, and you'll see him playing right now on GPB TV, and that's Travis Hunter out of Collins Hill High School. And he's a 5-star. He's a lockdown corner. He's rated as the nation's number 2 cornerback in the state. I think he's a top 7 player in the country for 2022 on the 24/7 Sports Composite. But he's been dynamic on offense. He's been a dynamic receiver. I think he's over 1,400 yards, something like 15 touchdowns, just has that electric special gear as a playmaker with the ball in his hands. Spoke to him very recently, and sometimes I can't give you the great news or even the hopeful news or the optimistic news. That young man is a Florida State Seminole commit, and he sounds steadfastly like a Florida State University Seminole commit. He's got family ties in the area. His word means a lot to him, and I know there are a lot of schools that are trying to get at him and try to tell him, hey, built to win now. Kind of some of those same themes that we talked about earlier with Terry and Arnold. Travis Hunter's just not buying it. He sounds to me as steadfast a commitment in December of his junior year as Richard LeCount III was in December of his junior year when he chose Georgia back in December of 2015. I don't see him flipping. I don't see Georgia flipping him at all. And that's just some, reality there with what I see at the wide receiver position and what it's going to be with the state's number 1 prospect out of Collins Hill. He's actually playing right now. He's probably already made like 2 or 3 plays right now, playing right now in the Class 7A state championship game against Grayson. But that's a guy that I guess the word would be stunned, or he would be a great actor, because he, like sometimes guys that, weren't going to go to Georgia, big 5-star guys in the state of Georgia, sometimes guys, when they're still in their junior year, they would say the right things during an interview. They would be like, well, I'm going to give them a look. They're coming on strong. Not with Travis Hunter. He shut that stuff down. He shut it down very hard, as he kind of basically said, I'm a Seminole. Anybody else talking to you that I asked him that question, what's the message like? He says, I don't care what the message is. I'm a Florida State Seminole. I'm going to be a Florida State Seminole. And it was kind of like he was trying to lock somebody down on the edge, take away a go route, take away a fade ball, take away a slant route. He wasn't having it. So that's a young man. You got to admire his tenacity. You got to admire his conviction. Like I said earlier, there's some family situation there where he wants to come back home closer to his family, and that family is in that Tallahassee area as well. So good to see Travis Hunter sticking with what he believes in and not being moved off his mark a little bit by some of the bigger dogs, or the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Ohio States, the Clemsons, trying to turn his ear, even bringing up, hey, you can play offense here. Look how special you are with the ball in your hand. I think that's very interesting how Travis Hunter was so steadfast. There's another guy on that Collins Hill team, Sam Horn, who's a pretty good baseball player. You hear some people ask me on the forum, hey, what about the Sam Horn kid? Sam Horn told me very recently that Missouri's the school that's coming after him the hardest right now. Georgia's talking to him, but Georgia's really not contacting him and recruiting him to land his services or to make him feel like a priority as well. So a couple of names that are happening right now in the 7A game for Collins Hill, two very talented ball players. I like Sam Horn a lot when I got the chance to meet him, but right now I would not think that he is very likely to be a Georgia Bulldog. You guys have a quarterback question. I think the 2022 class for right now, as complicated and murky as that might seem, I think maybe the most important thing for Georgia right now is they're going to wait and see what's happening with Gunnar Stockton, the 2022 quarterback who's currently still committed to South Carolina. I think Kyle Trask has now thrown 3 interceptions now in the first quarter. You guys were wondering what I was laughing at. That was some people kind of responding to me about how well Florida was playing right now, which is, I'm sure, what everybody's cell phone's looking like right now in the state of Georgia. I think if Big Brother was watching the cell phones in the state of Georgia right now, there would be a keyword Trask or trash coming up as the hot indicator terms right now that are being texted across the state of Georgia right now. There you go. That was what we had, a quick good thing on, hey, what's great about Georgia recruiting right now? The great news, Brock Vandagriff, 8 to 10 weeks. That might be the timetable. Will not require surgery for his PCL. The good is the number of guys that are already practicing with the team or were practicing or on campus with the team during bowl season and bowl prep. The not so good is wide receiver recruiting will have to get a lot better. It will be a priority in the 2022 class because there was a drop-off this year in terms of wide receiver recruiting, especially compared to what Georgia did in 2019 and the 2020 classes by stocking the shelves with so many quality players there for those 2 cycles. That's the Jermaine Burtons, the Arian Smiths, the Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saints, the Dominic Blaylocks, the George Pickens, the Jermaine Burtons. Georgia just didn't sign guys like this. They signed some very good players that have a lot of potential, maybe even some undiscovered, unrealized potential. But for me, you're talking about a pair of 3-star recruits nonetheless that might be able to play to the mid-4 to the upper 4-star level, but they're not as talented as the guys that Georgia brought in, and Georgia will have to do a lot better at the receiver position in the 2022 cycle going forward. And then, you guys are probably watching them right now. I gave you 2 quick updates on especially the number 1 player in the state for 2022 and Travis Hunter, and how I know a lot of fans, a lot of coaches would love to have them on their team. Maybe they'd love to flip that commitment away from Florida State. But as of right now, I just really don't see that happening at all, because he made it so very clear to me in person that that's very likely not going to happen at all, not entertaining really any other offers from any of these schools as well. You guys got some questions? Let me say hi to folks on Facebook. Let me also say hi to folks on YouTube. Of course, if you're joining us right now, hit that just subscribe button if you're on YouTube, but hit that like button if you're on Facebook as well. Hope everybody had a great and happy holiday season. Let me see if I can get some interaction and some engagement from everybody on our streams right now. Let me tell you, how about this? Give me the worst thing you got for Christmas. We'll hope the aunties and the uncles and grandmas are watching right now, but give me maybe the most obtuse things you got for Christmas, and then maybe give me maybe the best thing you got for Christmas. I'd love to hear what some of you guys' favorite Christmas memories are at all. One of the things I got, and I'm already catching some shade in my household, is my young son. Give him credit because he wanted to do presents on his own this year. I say young, he's 12, and he went and crafted a phone case. You can get these done now. You can give them personalized with pictures or whatever. But he got phone case, and I would bring it to you, but I'd have to leave you guys in front of an empty webcam right now if I did. But He took the graphic off the dognation.com homepage or whenever I write a story, and he took the Intel graphic off of it. He Googled it, he screenshotted it, he put it on the back of a phone case. And that's pretty good. It's pretty good right there. I'm not really big on that sort of thing and putting my business out there. I just like to go do my work. But it's kind of like when your kids get you an ugly tie for Father's Day. Well, this isn't an ugly phone case, but if your kid gets it for you, you probably have to utilize it, because what kind of dad would you be, especially a Christmas present, if you didn't? That's one of those that will stick out. I'll even play along. One of the most obtuse things I got from a beloved family member, and thankfully I know he's not watching this program right now, but I got a salt grinder. I mean, it's one of those things where you turn it. I don't know where they found it, Sharper Image or whatever, but like you could put pepper in there and crushed pepper right there. But I got one of those, and I'm thinking, okay, one, I don't know what kind of impression I gave off where people would say, that Jeff fella, he really needs a salt grinder. He needs to take his rock salt and his pepper, and he needs to have it ground up for him. He needs fresh pepper and fresh rock salt, or fresh sea salt. That's what he needs. That's what he needs to, he's made it this far through 2020. Now he needs to get into 2021. And that's the sort of stuff he needs. Of course, if you guys got a recruiting question, you want to ask anything going on right now, besides me going back and forth and riffing around in some hopefully witty banter, or if you just want to delight in the misery of the Florida Gators, we'll certainly entertain that as well. Rhett Womack says Monken will land at least one game changer at wide receiver for 2022. Ace Dog weighs in and says, I guarantee you I hate Florida more than BA does. Frank, man, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. You're going to have to give me a little bit more than that. Like, you got to say, like, I hate Florida more than the fire of 1,000 suns or something like that, to convince me about that. Frank Patterson's got a great question. He wants to know, what is the 22 running back class looking like? We haven't had 2 home run hitters since Zeus and Cook. Is Georgia getting 2 home run hitters in 2022? Here's what I think. I think you guys are going to be very pleased to see an update I've got coming in dognation.com, maybe in the next week or so, maybe 2 or 3 days. I say 2 or 3 days and not a week because it's a story I really want to write. I have it on my radar to write up really soon, but Georgia is kind of always going for that Nick Chubb, Sony Michel model, where it's one guy is big, he's going to wear defenses down, he's going to be the hammer, and the other guy is going to be that quick scat back, the elusive Garrison Hurst type, Sony Michel type, DeAndre Swift type, the guy that will catch the ball out of the backfield and be a 3-down back for Monken's offense. I think Georgia's cooking up some really good guys like that in the 2022 class. I think the fact that they only took Lavassier Carroll, just one guy, and didn't get Donovan Edwards in 2021 class will be helpful there as well. And I think Georgia has really done their advanced work with the 2022 guys they have their eyes on and they have their minds on. And we'll be writing about those guys in the year to come. But Frank, to answer your very good question, and a happy new year early to you, by the way, Frank, as well, that Georgia's going to be very well prepared with his running back list at this time. Bubba makes a comment that he says, I know Georgia had a rough start to our season, but I'm very happy Grantham isn't the D coordinator anymore. That's pretty funny. Rhett Womack. Yeah, that's another guy to know about. Trayon Webb is the 2023 guy. Trayon Webb, let me tell you this. He was in 7th grade going into 8th. Todd Hartley was recruiting other players for Miami at that practice, and the running backs were all shredded by the part of this practice. So they gave the ball to the 7th grader, and the 7th grader looked like a sophomore, and he was ripping through the first-team defense, making plays, and Hartley offered him way back when he was 7th going into 8th out of Trinity Christian in Jacksonville, Florida. And he committed last year during the Missouri game. It was Georgia, folks, that 2023 class is going to feel a lot like, for me covering recruiting, it's going to feel a lot like the easy bake oven with that 2023 class. J.R. Hyatt. I'm just scrolling through a couple of questions right here. J.R. Hyatt. I hope I got that right, J.R. He said, man, Florida is like making the SEC look bad right now. Jay Shipes as well. It's funny. Like I'm in a lot of text threads where it's like, I mean, it seems like it's like rest in peace, this person. You got Marianne, you got Phil Necro lately coming back. Brandon Howe wants to know, will Jeff, will anybody that will surprise Georgia come back? That will surprise the Georgia fans coming back? Well, I don't know what you can consider a surprise. I think JT will come back. I think the running back decisions aren't as cut and dry as most might think. I think the line will mostly come back intact. I thought Jermaine Johnson's move to Florida State was interesting there as well. I think more people would kind of want to know not the folks that are coming back, but who's coming over, who's portaling over. I think that's kind of the thing that's going to make a lot of interesting thoughts rambling around my head for on that front. And Frank, yeah, I want to make sure I answer your question with a little bit more specificity. I think Georgia's in really good spot with I think two of their top four targets, and I think the 3 and the 4 target are waiting to see what happens to 1 and 2. These guys are some special football players, some very special football players. Now they're way up the food chain, top 5, top 10 running backs in the country, and these will be contested recruitments as they all are. But no one knows about my pick, man. It's funny. No, I just thought Florida would show up. I didn't think Oklahoma had rallied the course of midseason. I didn't believe in their defense. I still don't know if they have the really steady answer that they have at quarterback. I expect Caleb Williams to really challenge Spencer Rattler early on in Oklahoma as well. Let me see what Facebook has to offer right now as well. Um, how'd you guys like my salt grinder story? Did you guys have anything funny like that? Um, yeah, so we got people texting me. They're wanting to set lines on Vegas about for the last 5 minutes. What happens if Trask gets benched? That's really not a good look for the future of Florida Gators football when you have the quarterback that would be vectoring out benched in that final game as well. uh, uh, Joel Moody, to answer your question, yeah, I think on Facebook, yes, I do think that will happen. Kathy picked Oklahoma. There you go, CAG. You know what's talking about. Clay Dykes, good question. Who do I think will make the earliest impact in this class? Whew. Well, you got to look to certain positions. I don't think it's wide receiver. I don't think it's running back. I don't think it's offensive line because I mean, Amaris is going to get a look just because you cannot he kind of eclipses the whole room. You have to give him a kind of a really good look there. Um, the guy I think should he come, I think Terry and Arnold will is a guy that can get a really quick, fast look. I think Nyland will get a quick look as well. It's so funny thinking about back to last year's team. And last year, if you'd asked me this, I thought Jared Zirkle would have been the guy that would have had. I did say I thought Jared Zirkle would be the guy that would make the quickest early impact because there just wasn't anybody there with any consequences of playing time. And I think the biggest non-story for Georgia football for me this year is the fact that Podlesny has played so well, and he's rendered that who's the kicker, walk-on kicker, redshirt preferred walk-on kicker. He's rendered that a moot point totally. And now it's the point where you wonder what sort of future Jared Zirkle might have at Georgia as well going forward. Other guys that I think could play. I think Brock Bowers could work his way into the rotation as well, a guy that could play right away or at least make an impact. You wonder about the backup quarterback, who that might be. Um, the other name you got to expect one of those D linemen to make some noise, and I think that would be Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, TID, to kind of try and see if he can make a Trayvon Walker type impact for that Trayvon had on the 2019 season early on as well. That's another name to know. I think Sori's a guy that can play a lot inside or outside. I think it's going to take Munden a little bit longer. I think Jamon Jumas Johnson is a guy that will probably play right away. I like Kamari Lassiter a lot, and I like Javon Bullard a lot as well. Two very versatile DB types that Georgia would be bringing in as well. And I guess folks forget, man, Sori is one of the 5 stars in this class as well. I think David Daniel will be a very good special teams guy starting out as well. Those are the guys I think is the early impact as well. Greg Rains, I see you on Facebook. Georgia is really not after anybody in the 2021 recruiting cycle at running back. I see James Leonard Brown got a beer bottle opener. Joel Moody, I do think LeCount will play in the bowl game. Kathy, you said your favorite gift was Amelia's grandma mug with a picture of your new baby granddaughter. Kathy, you're getting a like for that one right now, live and in person, because that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know, Kathy, I don't know how you can say 2020 was a bad year, considering that blessing, absolute blessing, came down to your life. Joel Moody, I agree with you. Now listen, guys, I'm gonna tell you that Arnold fella, he's coming. If he chooses Georgia, he's coming to make a huge impact. Works his tail off every day. He's just really a really special football player. That's all I can say. The versatility, the mindset, I think everything is there for him to be great. One of the things to bring to mind, I think, Kathy, Aquavia Green. Okay, guys, I'm not going to ignore it. There's a million questions here about Eric Gilbert. Here's the thing. Gilbert, listen to this. I think there's a reason why that name is not in the portal yet. I think there's a reason why he opted out of the rest of that season, and that name is not in the portal yet. One thing I want to make sure to do, Clarence Dawson, you bring up some news. DJ Daniel is going to the draft as well. One of the things I wanted to make sure we say is I want to just take a minute and just express a lot of hope, a lot of prayer, a lot of kindness, a lot of peace right now for the family of Georgia running back James Cook. I got to know some members of that family pretty well during his recruitment, and I got to know James pretty well during his recruitment. It's amazing how much he's matured over the last 2 years at the University of Georgia. But this is a very sad time, and my hearts and my thoughts and my prayers are out to that family as well, because a lot of things that he has to think about right now, and the loss of his father during this time will definitely weigh heavy on him, no doubt about that. So it's very sad to hear that about James and his family today. Clay Dykes has a question. When do I see visits starting? I don't know if we're going to see. I was hopeful that maybe the April 15th date might get moved up. I'm going to say that you'll probably see coaches allowed to visit more, maybe earlier than kids would be allowed to come in and visit. Maybe, spring practice, summer. I'm going to say summer, May, June is when I see some of that could finally start happening. Joel Moody had his worst gift was a coffee mug. His best gift was a Polaris Ranger, and they both came from the same person. Joel, was that your wife? I want to know if you're going to admit that, man. I want to know if you're going to admit that. Randy Payne says, "Go Dogs" from Tifton, Georgia. Chad Buchanan, I agree with you, sir, man. Prayers for the entire for the entire Al Chandler. I think the report I've seen was that his dad was only 46. Robert Reynolds, thank you for watching. Ro Hawkins, I get this a lot, and I have to shoot this down on the forum a lot. Ro, I don't think Jaden Hazelwood is going to transfer from the Oklahoma Sooners. Let's see. Yeah, hey, Ed, it was nice to meet you at the Wesleyan Prince game as well. So the stud defensive lineman, there's a bunch. There's one guy out of Texas. His name is Big Bear Alexander. I'm going to write about him soon. Love his story. There's Mikel Williams. We've written about him. Mikel is just phenomenal. He's great. I think he's a 5-star. I think he's an easy 5-star. And I think if the services were out evaluating him and the coaches were out evaluating him, the feedback that they get, he'd get bumped up to 5-star status pretty quick. Of course, Georgia's already got a commitment from Tyree West out of Tift County in Tifton. He is a special football player as well. There's Kristen Miller out of Cedar Grove as well. A lot of big defensive linemen, big defensive line options for Georgia. I tell you what, I'm going to be floored, absolutely floored, if Georgia can pull another 5-star offensive tackle in this class. I don't know if it's possible when you got Mims and Jones and Ratledge and Morris, all those guys waiting their turns. It will be very hard to do. Another name I didn't mention, I should have mentioned it when we're talking about instant impact guys. If you would have told me Jared Wilson would have been an early enrollee guy, he might have been one of the top 4 names on my list. Special, movement, ferocity, intelligent, physical, worker, offensive lineman, great feet, great movement ability. Jared Wilson's going to be a player for the University of Georgia, and he'll be sooner rather than later. That's a guy I think is a really, really impressive young man. Let me give one more lap to YouTube and say hi to YouTube. I hope everybody is enjoying. What's the score right now? Florida, Oklahoma. Somebody give me an update. Zadrian, thank you for joining us. G Bama boy, that's a funny story. He usually sees Kirby and Barbaritos. 2 weeks ago, I had a Bama hat on and spoke. He spoke to me, but looked at me strange. That's funny. Rhett Womack, man. Rhett, there you go. I'd rather have Arnold than a brand new truck. He said, heck, I'd stop driving to get that kid. There you go, man. I think here's the thing. I think Broderick's going to be the best pass protector Georgia has for a while. I think Georgia tried to get him to figure out right tackle this year because really all Broderick knew was left tackle. It was funny. I heard the stories about how hard it was him to move it out of his stance and just get lined up and go through his steps. And it was just very hard for Broderick to think as a right tackle. Broderick's a natural left tackle because he's such a dancer, so athletic with his feet. The best way to start Amarius out, I think, might be at right tackle, but great googly moogly. If Georgia can ever get Amarius dialed in and Broderick dialed in on bookends of their front, man, it's going to be insane. And then you would have Darnell Washington on maybe one of those sides as well. I would just imagine what it'd be like for an edge guy in the SEC to be looking and to see the tight end Darnell 6'8" and the right tackle. Amarius Mims at 6'9", 330 pounds, 325 pounds. Great future there for Georgia football, especially, those guys have extremely bright futures as well. Guys, right there, calling it a 2020. What a 2020 it has been for the Before the Hedges. Want to thank everybody for joining us. Want to, again, thank you, Kroger. Thank you for another great year of partnership for all that we do here on Dog Nation. My blessings go out to each and every one of you guys and your families. Stay safe over the next couple of days. Hope you get to watch a lot of football over the next couple of days. Everybody will be watching Georgia take on Cincinnati over the next couple of days as well. I wish you guys many blessings and many, many, many good times, and a return to much, 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 much more fun times in the year 2021. My heart goes out to each and every one of you today. Thanks for joining us here on Before the Hedges again on Dog Nation's YouTube and Facebook channels. From all of us at Dog Nation to all of you, and especially everybody that joins us each and every week on Before the Hedges. Happy early New Year, everybody. And you guys have a great one. And I'll see you guys again on the pages of DogNation.com. Peace, everybody. Be well.